beloved souls. My name is Autumn, and welcome to Soul Sex. So, the purpose of this channel, although I've talked about this before, is to really meld the fact that we are both sexual beings and spiritual beings, right? It's a bridge that I'm walking on with you guys from sex to spirituality because there's been such an energy within the collective as if we should be ashamed of our sexual desires, right? Be ashamed of our bodies, be ashamed of sexual pleasure. And none of that needs to be, right? We all got here through an act of sex, good, bad, or indifferent. That is how we got here, right? So there's no reason to be ashamed of your sexual desires. Sex was created to help us reproduce and to keep the population growing, right? To grow the earth, to keep populating the earth, right? So I want you to just kind of dive deep into your heart space, right? And realize that you are loved, that you are, of, not only are you loved, but that you're valuable, that you're worthy, that you're deserving of love, right? And there's nothing wrong with enjoying the physical pleasures of your body, right? Sex is a way to express ourselves. It's a sexual energy. It's a life force creating energy that was given to all of us. And when we decide to go deep into our mental bodies, our spiritual bodies, our emotional bodies, and our physical bodies, that act of sex is transformative, right? It's transformative. Yes, you can absolutely just have a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, and just keep it physical and just keep it carnal. Absolutely. That's everyone has free will. That is absolutely your choice. But if you're willing to walk this path, if you're willing to go deeper, if you're willing to see, hmm, why am I having sex with someone and then every time I have sex with them, I feel depleted or I feel like I'm not enough or I feel like I'm not good enough or why are there people in my life that are showing up that are only calling me for sex, right? They don't really care about how my day is going. I don't really hear from them before midnight, but they're always available for the get down to the get down, right? And again, that's the journey you're on. That's cool. I have done that. I have had just freaking slides, and their total purpose was to come bring me sexual pleasure, right? Don't ask me no questions. Don't talk back. Don't be trying to get on my phone. Don't worry about who else I'm doing, what else I'm doing. Your scheduled time is your scheduled time, right? If you're the Thursday night guy, then clock into your appointment. If you decide to show up on Wednesday night when it's not your appointment and get your feelings hurt, then that's on you, right? And so I've done that part. I also used to do porn, right? So I know what it is to separate our mind and our hearts from just the physical act. I know what that's like, right? And it's very different to have sex with someone just for the physical act and then to have sex with someone that you're feeling really deeply connected with. And you can use these beautiful energies to manifest really great things in your life because where two or more are gathered, right? So shall you be. So if two of you are in alignment with the same goal, the same desire, the same manifestation, and you're using that beautiful life force energy of sex and focusing that energy, it becomes magical, guys. It becomes magical. But what are the thoughts that are going on in your head when you're hearing about sex, right? That's our mental body. When I say sex, does it kind of make you cringe up or do you get a little excited, right? If you hear the words penis and vagina and head and eating pussy, does it throw you off, or are you excited about these things? When you're having sex with people, are you completely just falling into them emotionally without really doing like having some discernment or doing your due diligence, right? Sex and love are not one and the same, although they can be in alignment. But they're two different conversations, right? You can love food, you can love sex, you can love your children, you can love your family, you can love exercising. But that's a very, very different conversation than just I had sex with somebody last night and so now I'm expecting a big bright future with them, right? And if that is the thing that is going on, then we need to dive deep into why am I so emotionally invested in every single person I have sex with? Can I do one without the other? Do I want to do one without the other? Because maybe you want to give yourself to someone only in a loving manner, but are you rushing that process maybe because they want the physical connection with you and you just want to feel loved or be needed or be wanted, right? So that's some things to dive deep into. Excuse me. Obviously, communication is all up in that as well, right? I knew that from the throat chakra. But communicating our desires, communicating our feelings, right? Not going into things with these really high expectations of people supposed to be bringing us our happiness and bringing us our joy, or again, once again, like having sex with someone and all of a sudden thinking, okay, that's going to be my wife or that's going to be my husband, without having a conversation. We need to have a conversation with our partners. Um, Recently moved to an area that has like this huge STD rate and pregnancy rate, right? Teen pregnancy rate. And it's because people are not talking. That's really what it is. People are not having a conversation. Parents need to have conversations with children about healthy sexual activity, right? And obviously it's age appropriate, right? I'm not going to talk to my 9 and 10-year-old right now about condoms and birth control and stuff like that, but we are talking about emotions. We are talking about getting out there. I'm not gonna shame my daughter when she comes to me as a teenager and like wants to have a boyfriend, and we need to have a conversation with her. Like, hey, don't get caught up. You know what I mean? A guy will say anything to get in between your legs. You need to have those conversations, right? Are you teaching our young men to be sexually mature and sexually responsible, right? It's the whole like, yeah, I'm gonna just fuck anything that moves thing. No, right? It's okay for a male to have deep inner connections, deep emotional connections with females as well, or male, whoever their partner is, right? And to not think that it's like, oh, I'm a tough guy just because I'm fucking anything that moves without really connecting with anyone. We can have deep, and I mean deep, magical, orgasmic sexual experiences that transform our lives by allowing those four bodies to connect. And again, I have been on the side where it's just been physical, and that's been cool, right? I've also had sex with people that I've loved, and it's been so much better because you're understanding one another, because you're communicating, because you're expressing how you feel, right? But if you're having sex with someone and you're all in love with them, and the next thing you know, they're cheating on you, or they're talking shit, or you're feeling kind of degraded, or you feel kind of forced into these situations or predicaments that don't really work for you, then that's a whole nother conversation to have, right? Do you want to sexually explore and maybe use masturbation or toys or have another person in it, right? There's nothing wrong with these sexual desires, but you need to have a clear conversation. Are you doing this because this is something that you want, or are you doing this something solely because it's what your partner wants, and you're afraid that if you don't do these things, that they're going to leave or the relationship is going to be over? That's a form of manipulation, right? There's a difference between let me try something a little different and explore to if I don't do it, then there's going to be a consequence, right? So when we're having sex and when you're talking about sex and when we're having these conversations, right? Again, where's the shame? I easily have conversations with people about sex all the time, and I see people cringe, blush, kind of like look everywhere but at me when we're having these conversations, and it cracks me up because I'm like, you'll be willing to get down with the get down, be naked, have your body in all types of positions, have things and all types of stuff in your mouth and in your crevices, and that's cool, but you can't use the words, can't talk about sex? Like, does your partner know that you don't like that and that, like, that's a hard no for you? Right? I don't like my butt played with, right? That's just like, it just doesn't do anything for me, right? So, meet a partner, I let them know, like, don't even ask because that's like a hard no for me. And then there'll be partners that are kind of like, all right, you say that now, but I'm going to get you to do it. And there'll be other partners that are like, cool, respect it. I'm glad you said something, so I won't even waste my time going that route, right? My ex boyfriend, when we first met, started dating, he's like, "What do you like? What do you don't like?" And I'm like, "I don't do anal, and don't be coming all over my face." Like, and that was a blockage that I had to heal, and I had to go through. Not the anal part, the coming in the face part, but I had to go through and figure out why is that such a issue for me, right? I watch porn, been in porn, why? But why in my personal relationships was that such an issue for me, right? And I had to dive deep. Doing this work has had me dive deep, not only into the people that I work with, but into my own energetic field, right? Why is that a hard no? Anal sex for me, I just don't enjoy it. So that's a no for me, right? And I'm not going to force myself to try to enjoy something solely because that's what you want, to prove some type of point to, your manhood or whatever. That's not what I'm doing. It's fine. I know a lot of my girls that prefer anal sex over vaginal sex. A lot of my girlfriends, they're here for it. I'm like, yeah, bitch, go ahead, do your thing. Not my thing, but do your thing. You know what I mean? Like if a guy wants it, I'm like, I have a couple of girls you can call for that. Just don't call me. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But it's about communication and clarity up front. So tapping into your mental body, right? How do these words make you feel? Are you having sexual intimacy with people that are degrading you? Do you feel degraded after you do these things, right? Is cock a word that makes you cringe, or cunt, or pussy, or dick? Like, how do you feel about these things and why, right? Why is it such an issue? I know growing up in like a Christian uh, upbringing that it was like, oh, you don't really have sex until you're married, right? My mother was kind of like the black sheep and the rebel. So I think out of spite to my grandmother, not so much out of her own sexual self confidence, it was kind of like, well, you don't have to wait till you're married to have sex, right? But have sex with someone you love. So that was a good caveat for me. It was like, all right, I don't have to wait, but I can have sex with someone I love. That's the way that I express myself, right? I'm an Aries, so physical sex is a big form of how I express myself to my partner, right? Non-communicative way with words, but my emotions are there. So 11:11 on the clock. So having grown up thinking like, oh my God, you're going to hell if you have sex before marriage, or something must be wrong with you, or you have to be in love with these people, right? All these rules and guidelines that we're given growing up. And then we grow up and we start having these sexual experiences. And next thing you know, we're like feeling ashamed, or we feel dirty, or we're mad at ourselves, or then we're overthinking it, right? And then we're telling ourselves all these awful things about ourselves, or we have sex with someone and then we block them because we're ashamed of the activity, or we didn't feel good in that moment, right? Or we feel used, or we feel violated. And it's like, well, they used me, they violate me. Well, is it that they did that, or is that how you're perceiving it? Is that how you took it because it's how you're feeling about yourself, right? And then really connecting those mental blocks, those mental conversations that you're having with yourself, right? Tapping into the emotions and why are you feeling this way emotionally, right? If you're having sex with someone and every time you're done with the physical pleasure, no matter how many orgasms you may have, you're feeling empty afterwards and less than on a physical sense, then that's another conversation, right? Are you having sex with someone who is pouring into you and really making you feel seen and sexy and heard and valued, and that is your pleasure their pleasure? Or are you just a substitute for their masturbation, right? Because how many of you, how many of us, right, have just been a hole to fill, or an alternate hand, right, for someone who just didn't want to jerk off that day or didn't want to masturbate that day, right? It's like, oh, I'd rather just not masturbate, all right? Well, I guess I'll see this guy, right? Or I'd rather not jerk off, right? I guess I'll call this girl and just deal with it. I know towards the end of my last relationship, because we were not communicating and there was so much discord and unalignment within our dynamic, that it was just like a turnoff for me. Right? It was just like a turnoff for me. It was like, this is how I communicate with you, and we're not communicating, so you're not hearing me. So it was like a turnoff. There's no other person, there's no cheating, it was nothing like that. It was just, we are not in alignment anymore. So now it's like the Sahara down there. It's dry, it's quiet, you know? And we had sex a couple times before it ended, and it was nothing like our previous experiences because we were not in alignment anymore. We weren't communicating, right? There was like this anger underlying our relationship, right? And those unexpressed emotions are going to come up in different ways. So we need to communicate. We need to connect. We need to dive deeper. We need to be doing things that are having us feel fulfilled, and not just in a physical way, emotionally fulfilled. And again, this isn't somebody else pouring into you. This is you pouring into you. How do you feel after you're doing this? Right? How do you feel about yourself? You love someone? Are they even in the space to love you? Or are you just projecting that love onto them and trying to force them to think that love and sex are the same thing? Right? If you think that if you do these things the way that you want, that they want them done, when they want them done, that that's going to give you your end result, right? Are you prostituting yourself out of the hopes of love, out of the hopes of marriage, right? And really not giving to yourself. Connecting your spiritual body into all of this will change that, right? Because as we connect deeper into ourselves, into our own hearts, we respect ourselves, we love ourselves, we hear ourselves, we see ourselves, we're showing up for ourselves. And as we're doing that, we're projecting that energy out, right? You don't want the shortcomings. You don't want the low vibrational energy. You don't want the person that is only good in the bed on the late night, but can't even call to see if you're okay when you're going through a hard time. Right? The collective right now is shifting to much deeper, intimate relationships. Right, and intimacy isn't always about sex. Like, can you have a conversation with this person? Right? Can you call them when things aren't okay? Are they a shoulder that you can lean on? Right? Are they a friend or are they a foe? These are things to think about. Do they belong? Are they committed to someone else? And then showing up with you, but then not committing to you. And if that is the situation, which is cool because we've all, not we've all, but been there, done that too, right? But why are you running from connection? Why are you running from commitment? Right? Are you doing this in hopes that they're going to leave that person to be with you? Because normally how you get them is how you lose them, right? So it's about you connecting those four things. You diving deep into your spirituality. You realizing that, hey, God gave me this beautiful body, this beautiful sexual pleasure to enjoy, to create. And not always about creating babies, right? Because it's a life force energy, but you can use that energy for anything. You create a business, the energy into a goal, a dream, a desire, right? Manifest a home, manifest some financial windfall, like how whatever that beautiful magic is that you're working on right now. It doesn't always have to be about love and marriage and some type of deep union, right? If you're focusing on love, then the love that you need to be focusing on is loving yourself. And that is why we dive deep into our heart first and foremost. Because how can you possibly expect love from anyone else if you're not even loving yourself, right? How could you possibly say, hey, I love this person if you don't even love yourself? How can you give something that you don't have? So when you learn to dive deep into yourself, when you learn to love yourself and show up for yourself and explore your own mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies, it changes everything. It changes everything. Yes, I used to do porn, and now I'm on the road as a pastor and a priestess, and I'm working with coaching people in their own sexual exploration. It doesn't take away from my past. I have no shame about my past. So people all the time, I used to do porn. It wasn't a lot of fun for me, right? But I was able to separate my physical body from my emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. It was a job. Clock in, do what you got to do, clock out, and move on. And half the time I was doing that stuff, I was in a relationship, right? What I was doing at work had nothing was nothing like what I was creating at home in our dynamic and in our relationship. Two completely different energies and two completely different acts, right? One is a movie, it's a scene, it's directed, right? There's lights, there's cameras, there's people behind you, like telling you what you're doing. And then at home, your intimacy with your partner, you're pouring into one another as you're having these conversations, and maybe they're having a bad day, maybe you're having a bad day, and you're holding each other and having these intimate moments, right? That changes everything. It really changes everything. So I encourage you to go deeper in your sexual exploration. And I'm not just talking about the physical stuff. Yes, we're going to do that too, right? Yeah, there's tricks and there's techniques and there's little things you can learn to really give yourself like a boost of extra confidence when it comes to the physical aspect. But I want to know what you're telling yourself. I want to know about what's going on in that mind of yours. Right? I want to know how you feel about yourself before, during, and after the sexual intimate act. Right? How are you showing up? And are you ashamed of the sex that you're having because you think that the church or the synagogue or the temple or whoever is going to judge you for that, right? There are cultures that are against a female pleasure, right? There are so many people I know that don't have sex comfortably with the lights on and still have their clothes on a lot of times because they're ashamed of their own physical bodies, right? So why are you ashamed of your vessel? And if you are, what are you doing to transform that, right? What are you saying to yourself? You can be naked in a room with somebody doing the damn thing, but can't have a conversation with them about how you feel, about how your day is going, right? That's a sign of respect. And it starts with you respecting yourself first and foremost. Respecting yourself enough to be like, hey, if this person's not pouring into me on a spiritual, emotional, and mental level, then they don't deserve my body, right? Boys and girls, men and women, you deserve more. And it might start with you just keeping your sexual intimacy to yourself, right? There's nothing wrong with masturbation. I know people that masturbate every day before they even get their day started because they don't want to go outside with a loaded gun, right? How long does it take to masturbate? You can go take a shower, rub one out real quick, and move on with your day, right? Before you go on a hot date because you don't want to, like, I know, like, I want to say over 2 years, I decided not to have any sex after my baby father and I broke up because I just wanted to cleanse my body, right? Cleanse my energetic field. I didn't really want to be touched. That just wasn't something that I wanted to do on a deeper connected level, right? And so it took a long time for me to find someone who was going to be in alignment with me offering my body again, right? I know that sex is one of the things that I'm really, really good at. I know that. I know that when I connect with people on that level, they always want to come back. But do I want you to come back? Do I want you in my life? Do I want to be physically with someone who's not going to answer the phone, who's not going to text, who's maybe committed to somebody else and lying to them to try to be? I don't want all that extra energy in my life. I don't want the lies. I don't want the deception. I don't want the stress. I don't want the convoluted energy. I want someone who's going to be clear and whole within themselves as I'm trying to be clear and whole within myself. And when we come together with that alignment, we're feeling great afterwards. We don't feel less than. We don't feel used. We don't feel violated. We don't feel like we're not being seen or we're not being heard. Right? It's a really deep connection. So this is why I'm here. This is why I created Soul Sex because I want you guys all to have the same experience. I think everyone should have an orgasm. Can I guarantee that you'll have an orgasm? No, but I'm encouraging everyone to get on the path so that you can try. And yes, there are techniques and things that we can go through to help you get there, right? But it starts by releasing the things that are holding you back, releasing those thoughts in your mind that are causing judgment and fear and anger and resentment and shame, right? Releasing those things that are placed around our heart, our emotional bodies, where we're allowing ourselves to be used as a physical vessel for someone else's pleasure, but we're feeling empty afterwards, right? There's a hole in our cup. There's a hole in your cup, right? Connecting with your physical body and knowing what you like and what you don't like, what pleases you and what doesn't, what your heart knows or what your heaven's yeses are, right? Like knowing that, knowing yourself. How many, I know so many women that don't touch themselves, don't love themselves, are ashamed of their physical body, that won't even really allow a male to give them, or I'm not gonna say a male, a partner, to give them oral pleasure because they're ashamed of it, right? Why? I know males to this day who grew up thinking that a woman's pussy is dirty. And I'm like, so you got kids, a whole wife, you fuck every day, but the shit is dirty? There's a disconnect there, right? There's a whole disconnect there. I know people that this cracks me up too, right? I know a whole lot of dudes that are good with getting head. They're good with getting head. Oh yeah, anybody suck me on, top it off, but won't eat pussy. I'm like, how, when, and why? So you can receive, but you're not willing to give. Hard no for me, right? I do not sign up for that class. And then there's our spiritual body, right? Really connecting in with the sacredness of who you are, connecting in with your own body, right? There's meridian points all over our bodies that connect our organs, that activate our chakras, right? And as we're connecting those chakras, as we're activating all of our organs, we can do that through the physical body. Playing with your nipples, right, isn't just like some weird perverse thing, right? It activates different meridian points in your body, right? What are your um turn ons, right? Do you like to get your neck kissed? Do you like to have your back kissed? Do you I know some men who love to have their nipples played with because it's an erogenous zone. I know other men who don't because they feel like that is something for females only, right? So these are conversations that you need to have and understanding why you feel this way, right? Why you feel this way. And again, when you get to a point where you understand yourself, and you have your yeses and your nos, you can move forward with confidence, right? I know my yeses, I know my nos. I know what I like, I know what I don't like. I know what I enjoy, I know what I don't enjoy. And so I'm good about speaking on that. And if you cannot get into alignment with me, then you will get going. Really simple. Really simple to me. And it should be that simple to you because it's your body, it's your sexual experience, right? Can you look at yourself with the lights on and appreciate your body? Can you have an intimate act with a partner and be okay with the lights on and seeing them fully for who they are and seeing yourself fully for who you are in that moment, right? Doesn't mean that you need to have a mirror on the top of the bed or by the bed, right? But it means just looking at each other, right? Being with someone for 1 or 2 years in sexual intimacy and not knowing that they have a freaking mole or a birthmark or something because you guys always have sex in the dark late at night where you're freaking wasted or high out of your minds is a different conversation, right? Do you feel like you always need to be drunk or high in order to have sexual pleasure and gratification? I know a partner that I had before, amazing, Scorpio, big dick, huge, right? Great energy, great energy. We were together for many years, on and off. But he had like addiction issues, right? And so, as a female, or actually anyone that's ingesting, right, the male member into your body, you're taking those energies on, right? So his sadness, his depression, his addiction stuff was pouring within to my energetic field. And as bright and sunny as light as I am, it did have an effect. It was dimming my light, right? It didn't help. And the first time I had an orgasm, although he was a fantastic lover, it wasn't with him. It was during a time when we were broken up and had sex with someone else, someone who wasn't as low vibrational, who didn't have such addiction issues, who wasn't um, all over the place and emotionally, right, and mentally, someone who was a little bit more secure. And once I learned how to get myself there on a physical level, right, because once you know your body, you know your body. Any partner can basically you can basically guide them to get you there. When he and I reconnected, and then I knew how to kind of shift and move with him and guide him to how to shift and move with me, changed the game. Changed the game. But I had to come out of that relationship of love, right? So loving and step into another space where I actually was seen and was actually heard, and I wasn't there just mothering someone while they were going through their emotional roller coaster, right? And he's still right to this day we're friends, right? And he's still on an emotional roller coaster, right? We haven't been together in years, but it's good to see that he's finally starting to do the work and he's finally stabling out, right? Finally plateauing in his life. And I think if, I don't even know if he has a partner, but if he does have a partner, she's going to receive him in a much different space, right? She's not wasted all the time. You're not feeling sad about yourself all the time, right? Do you need to pop ecstasy just to have a freaking orgasm? You need to be doing a line of coke just to keep your fucking dick hard, right? Like these are the things to ask yourself. And if you do, why? Why do I always need a shot? Like, am I the girl and guy at the bar that's getting fucking wasted and just bringing different people home, and then the next day it's like I'm feeling bad about myself, so then I go get wasted again and do it all over again? Are you doing that cycle? Because there's so many different cycles, right? So many different cycles. Are you hiding and watching porn all day long? Right? And like feeling ashamed because you're watching pornography and you enjoy it. I don't, I mean, get me started on how many people I know that just feel so ashamed of themselves for enjoying porn. And I'm like, it's a movie. It's a movie, right? If you're going to watch it and learn something cool, if you're watching it and going into your real life situations with those expectations, you're going to end up disappointed. Because, like I said, it's a movie. There's actors and directors and light people and people in the background and all types of stuff going on. All types of stuff going on in order for you to see that movie that was done in front of you, right? So don't base your life off of those things. You'll end up disappointed. I've had lovers who, once they hear I've done porn, you're like, oh, yes, right? They feel like it's a pat on the back if I want them to. But I'm like, what I did in the movie, I'm not doing with you. And they're like, oh, I could do porn too. And I'm like, no, you can't. No, you can't. And it's not to like shoot them down, but it's like, bring the ego down. Let's come back to earth, right? Just because you saw a porn movie one time doesn't mean that you can do it. I promise you, 9 times out of 10, you can't. You go and stop and start and perform in front of a large crowd with mad lights on, and the director's like, no, move your leg this way. All right, do her this way. All right, change it this way. All right, stop. All right, you're about to come. No, wait, I want a different headshot. 9 times out of 10, you can't. There's nothing wrong with that, right? We have amateur porn, there's what, like Pornhub and stuff like that. You can make your own movies at home, and that's great. But don't set yourself up for failure and disappointment by thinking that you need to make this random thing happen in your life that's not happening, right? Like you're idolizing freaking Dirk Diggler or whatever. There's why did I say Dirk Diggler? I don't know. There's a ton of movies. And why was that the name that came to me? That's not even who I was thinking about. I was thinking about Ron Jeremy. Uh, but you're seeing them do it, and then you're like, yeah, and then you're watching these women perform, and you're expecting your partner to do that, and they may not be up for it, right? Because maybe they're having their own struggles with their own mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical selves, right? Maybe they don't feel comfortable performing oral sex because they learned it was something to be ashamed of, right? Maybe they don't feel comfortable having sex with the lights on because they're not comfortable within their own bodies. So then here you are in bed trying to do all this other shit, and maybe their bodies don't work that way, right? And then you both end up a little disappointed. Or maybe you want to bring somebody else into the fold because you saw that in a porn movie, and then you're realizing, hey, it takes a lot more work than I think. It's a challenge to completely be involved with one other person, let alone a mix of other people, especially if we're not having conversations and there's not an emotional safety there, right? You have a threesome, right? And I know a lot of guys are like, yeah, I want a threesome, I want two girls, blah, blah, blah. Cool. You want two girls pleasing you, but are you able to please both of them? And if your partner wants a threesome, are you going to be okay with the fact that maybe she wants two guys? Maybe the other guy's bigger than you. Maybe the other guy makes her come in ways that you never made her come before. How are you going to feel afterwards? Right? A lot of relationships end because people want what they saw in the movie, and real life does not play out that way because we haven't had a conversation, because there's not emotional safety there yet, because mentally maybe we're feeling judged or criticized or resentful or bitter. Maybe we feel forced or manipulated into these situations, and that's not what we really wanted, right? So there's so many different layers of us when we're having sex. When we take it just beyond the physical, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And as you dive deep into the different four bodies and allow yourself to heal, to express, to be heard, to be seen, to feel validated within your own self, right? Because it's not an external validation. This is you showing up for you. It changes things. Like I said, I cannot guarantee that you'll have an orgasm, but I'm on the road of training everybody to get there. I think everyone should have the experience of having an orgasm or being multi-orgasmic like me. You know what I mean? Maybe you're a squirter and that's something that you've been ashamed of, right? I know I'm a squirter. Not every guy likes it. I don't care. Like it is what it is. Either you love it and you're here with me for it, or it's over. It's time to move on. And that's okay too, right? So getting to know yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually will help you have more confidence in your sexual activities. The more confident you are in your sexual activities, the more confident you show up in the world. It helps with your heart rate, it helps with breathing, it helps with your confidence, it helps with your health, right? Like literally, people that have really healthy sexual relationships have better health, have better overall life experiences, right? So that is the purpose of all of this, right? To connect you deeper, to give you that extra push in life, right? To help you manifest some really dope magic in your life and to feel really, really good within yourself, right? Go out there with confidence. Go out there knowing, like I know that I'm fucking dope in the bedroom. I know that I am. I enjoy having sex. When I have a partner that's down to get down with me, it's on and popping, right? My ex might be fucking toxic asshole, but we had incredible, incredible sexual chemistry. Incredible sexual chemistry. Do it all the time, anywhere we could, because that's just both of our energies, right? And it was really powerful. And when things started to fizzle out between us, that energy fizzled out between us, right? So that was, again, that's one of the ways that I communicate, and that was one of the ways that he would communicate as well. So when that's not happening, there's no communication verbally, there's no communication physically, relationships over, right? So if you're willing to do the work, and if you're willing to dive deep, and if you're willing to connect, you're going to have some really incredible soul sex. You're going to manifest some really dope stuff in your life. And again, you don't always need a partner for this, because I implore everyone to know and love themselves first and foremost before they even start fucking with anybody, right? Now, does everybody masturbate and learn to love their body before they have sex? No. A lot of people are having sex as teenagers and they don't know if they're coming or going and which hole, if it's even in the right hole half the time, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying now, wherever you're at today, hey, learn to love yourself. And if you're masturbating, cool. Anything in moderation, right? If you feel like you're always needing to run to the bathroom and jerk off, and you're always watching porn, or you're sneaking around, you're being deceptive, you need to be asking yourself why. Why do I need to always be fucking playing with myself? Why is it that I feel such a shame to have this? Why am I addicted to porn, right? Why am I addicted to just masturbation? Why am I addicted to one night stands? Whatever it is. And it's not asking yourself these questions in a space of judgment. It's asking yourself these questions for awareness, right? Asking yourself this, like, why do I feel this way? Why is this an act of mine? Is it cultural? Is it gender related? Is it my religious upbringing, right? Is it something that I saw in a movie? Is it something that I was taught, right? So dive deep, connect. If you want to go deeper with me, absolutely you can. Go to my website, theenlighteneddaughter.com, right? And then go to like the coaching section for soul sex coaching. But get there, right? Get there. It's time for you to start having fucking sexual pleasure. It's time for you to be orgasmic. It's time for you to feel good within your body. It's time for you to start talking to yourself better. It's time for you to feel loved. And that starts with loving yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Loving yourself. And yes, there are the physical things that we can do too. I have videos where we talk about oral sex, right? Yeah, I can show you how to suck a massive dick, eat some pussy, which positions are easier for you if you're trying to lose your virginity, what positions are easier for you if you're just starting to explore anal sex. You can do all of that. But it's so much deeper than just the physical act. It's so much deeper. And I tell people all the time, and I'll tell people again, if the only thing you're getting from sex is an orgasm, then you're wasting it. Take that energy, baby, and go make your life happily ever after. All right? I'm going to leave it there, babies. I love you. God loves you. Angels surround you. And I hope to see you all soon. Later.